And on the flight back home from the trip, I texted her. We were sitting right next to each other. I texted her because I couldn't muster up the words to tell her out loud that I couldn't be friends with her anymore. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Natalie and this is my YouTube channel. I oftentimes film a lot of follow me for the weeks videos, some nail videos, some glow up videos, and some makeup and get ready with me and get to know me type videos. And this is gonna be one of those get ready with me and get to know me type videos. So I'm not particularly getting ready for anything specific right now. To be honest, I'm mostly just in the mood to play with some makeup, and it's late at night, and oftentimes I feel like many of the girlies and the gays get this, but when it's late at night, sometimes you just want to play with makeup, and it's kind of the mood I'm in right now. So I'm gonna try to do a full face of makeup. I got a whole bunch of new products that I want to try, as well as there's some things I want to talk about, get off my chest so you guys get to know me a little bit better. I've recently started watching Linda Sun videos. Her videos are like a masterpiece. They're like beautiful, artful films that she creates of her trips or her life or things that are going on with her in the moment. And she does a huge voiceover over them, talking about how she's going through things, like being an introvert, the struggles of being an introvert, and understanding that sometimes it's okay to be at the level that you're at and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. And I really, really like her videos and her content so far. The OCD in me can't help but try to watch every single video, because when I see the little red line go across a video, I can't help but think like, it's so satisfactory. And when not all of them have that, or when the line is not all the way to the end of the video, it bugs me, so I have to sit there and watch the whole thing. Anyway, I'm gonna stop fangirling over her, but essentially she started talking about this idea of feeling like she will never ever be one of those girls who gets to have a whole bunch of friends and have a whole bunch of time with people who want to be her friend or hang out with her a whole bunch, but that's okay because she creates bonds with people, or only a little number of people that are truly genuine to her. And I truly felt that, and I want to talk a little bit more about that and how I feel about it. So this is kind of like inspired by her videos, and I'm basically just going to be talking about a lot of the friendships that I've had, the ones that I still have, the ones I truly care about, how they started, the friendships that gave me the hardest lessons that I had to learn, and growing up as someone who is an extreme introvert and someone who is depressed and has anxiety and had a lot of trouble with social interaction. So yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, to start out, I'm going to do foundation. I'm going to be using the Hourglass Hydrating Skin Tint, the Veil Hydrating Skin Tint in number 7. I've used this before. I really like the product. It's not super heavy and it's pretty light on the skin, so I do really like that part. Especially since it's not exactly daytime right now. I do want to use something a little bit lighter and easier to take off and not going to cause my skin any irritation in the long run. So let's start from the beginning. My first ever friend. And keep in mind, these stories that I'm telling, there's some of them that are featured in my book that I wrote. And if you guys didn't know, I did write a book. It's called Fictionally Nonfiction. The Life I'd Never Admit Was Nonfiction, and I wrote it under a pen name. My pen name is Win Ten Fee. I am probably going to write more in the future. I just haven't had time or the motivation, because the hardest part about writing is finding the motivation to write. As many other people struggle with it, I do too. I will hopefully write something new soon or in the future, but at this point in time, it's not the biggest project that I'm working on at the moment, because I do want to dedicate more time into YouTube, more time into my new nail business and all of that. But you can find my book in the link in my bio, and you can order it on Amazon. I do really appreciate if you guys do that, because any support means a lot to me, because I was super vulnerable in that book. about my life and the things that I was going through. Someone who had to deal with a lot of trauma, it was very difficult for me to write something like that and then put it out there in the world. So I do truly appreciate anything you guys do to support me, whether it is following me on this YouTube channel or getting to know me or buying my book or reading my book or giving me anything. It truly means so much. But yeah, so the beginning of elementary school and the beginning of my socialization to people, I did not do well with people. Essentially, I never talked, I was quiet, I kept to myself, and I struggled to make friends or even want to have friends, but I realized that there was probably something I was missing out on by always being by myself, by never talking to anybody, by never talking, period, never talking to my parents, never doing anything like that. I would go home every day from school. My parents would ask us every single day how school went, if anything new happened, if there was anything exciting that we wanted to talk about. I have an older sister who's 2 years older than me. She would always come home and she would talk about all of these exciting things that happened with her friends and things like that, and I would always just come home and have nothing to say, and I would always just be like, it was okay. I always just said everything was okay, which is not true, and I never truly understood the importance of learning how to communicate or vouch for myself. I had a lot of trouble socializing, and I had a lot of trouble understanding how people worked or how anything worked, really, and I didn't have anyone to help me. And kids, oftentimes when they're little, it's important for them to socialize and create friends and have somebody to talk to other than their parents, because it helps them understand more about themselves, learn how to communicate, and have resources to help them understand how the world works other than their parents. And I didn't have that. I didn't even talk to teachers. I didn't do anything. I was very, very antisocial, and it was not healthy. It was not good. And one day, I remember, I think I was in first grade, I saw this little girl and she was hanging out with her friend. I came up to them and I built up the courage that I had never had before. I asked her, do you want to be my best friend? And keep in mind, this girl, she was best friends with the girl she was hanging out with, and I was so awkward. I was just straightforward about it because I didn't know that's not how people work. That's not how people like to approach other people, but I still did it, and she laughed at me, but she said yes, and I essentially stole this other little girl's friend from her, and I became the new best friend. And it was not a healthy relationship because you know how kids are. They can be selfish. They don't know any better. They boss each other around. They have no sense of understanding of what it's like to be empathetic of other people. So I essentially just did everything she wanted because I thought that if I didn't, she wouldn't like me anymore, and I wouldn't have something to talk about with my parents. I wouldn't have someone to hang out with. I would be alone again. So I became her doormat, and nobody knew who I was. Nobody cared who I was. Oh, by the way, that was the Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Cream Puff. I've been dying to try this, and a lot of TikTok and makeup artists that I like to follow use it. Anyway, it was a very bad experience for a first friendship for any kid to have. She essentially told me what to do all the time. I did it without questioning it because I wanted a friend. She also once actually used me to get up on a pull-up bar because she was too short to get up there, and I did not know any better, and I let her. So that friendship went on for a while. The only reason why that friendship ended was because I switched schools. My parents wanted me to go to the same school my sister was going to after she graduated our elementary school, which only went up to 4th grade, because it would just be easier on them if we went to the same one. And when I left, I cried my eyes out because I thought that this meant that I had to make new friends, and that I wouldn't make new friends because I'm horribly awkward. Nobody would like me, and I knew that my understanding of survival depended on the fact that I had a friend. This relationship truly, it messed me up because of the fact that I thought that I had to have a friend in order to have meaning, in order to be important, to anyone or anything, because it felt like without her I was nothing, which wasn't true. I didn't know that. I remember I had this conversation with my mom. She asked me why I never had any friends over, like ever, and I always lied to my friends and told them that my parents were super strict and would never let me have friends over. They would never let me go on field trips. They would never let me go to sleepovers, and it just wasn't true. And I don't know if this is a common occurrence for anybody else, but it was something that I did a lot because I was scared. I don't know how to respond to the idea of having people actually want to like hang out with me outside of school, because I thought that I was just doing it for survival, and once they saw me or like got to know me outside of school, they wouldn't want to be friends anymore. I would be boring, and I wanted the sanctity and the comfort of my home to not feel tainted by something that I wasn't even sure was real. I never even thought that deeply into it when I was doing it, but looking back, like, it's so crazy to see that even on the inside I knew that like these friendships that I was having weren't ones that I knew I could trust to truly be friendships I would have for the rest of my life, because they weren't. This is the Fit Me matte and poreless powder in 122 creamy beige. When I switched schools, I ended up meeting this group of friends who would play, what's it called? Infection, you know, the tag game where one person is infected and the rest of the people are running from them because they're infected, and once they tag you, you're infected too, and essentially your goal is to try to get everybody infected, and then your goal as someone who is not infected is to stay and remain the last person who is not infected. But yeah, I would play that game every day with them at recess, and then we became sort of this group, and we called ourselves the infection group. I felt like this was my only way of survival in this new world because I had no other friends, and I'm not one of those kids who understood social cues enough to be friends with the bigger cliques or the popular kids. And I stayed friends with them all through middle school and high school. And this girl that I was friends with, and she was my first ever friend, she ended up going to my school later, maybe like 5th grade, and I got to see her again, and I was so excited. I thought things would go back to the way they were, but since then I had grown, and I started to realize that I had my own autonomy and that my opinion mattered. But when I met her, it was like all of that went backwards, and I had lost all that progress as an individual and understanding who I am. As a result, there's this funny story where she actually convinced me that I had feelings for somebody that I didn't have feelings for, which sounds crazy, but as someone who doesn't understand social cues, who doesn't understand their own feelings, who doesn't want to lose their friend, you'll say yes to anything that they say. And if she tells me that she thinks that I like somebody, I'm gonna be like, yeah. She eventually like convinced me that I liked this boy, which I didn't. We were just friends, and I liked the dynamic that we had, but after that point, as someone who doesn't understand social cues, I actually wrote this boy a little love letter. As middle schoolers and high schoolers can be, they can be kind of brutal when it comes to things like that, and he went around the whole entire grade trying to figure out who was the one who wrote him the letter. I was so shy and I was so embarrassed because after I had already done it, I realized I didn't even like him, and my friend, or my quote-unquote friend, she laughed at me and she thought what I did was so funny, and I felt betrayed. I felt like I wasn't supported. I felt like I had been tricked into doing something, and admittedly I was the one who did it. I was the one who wrote the letter. I was the one who wrote the note, but it still felt like I had just ruined a friendship that I had no intention of ruining, and I ruined it just because of another girl who told me that I liked him, because I didn't know what it felt like to like someone. And that goes into something completely different, because like I realized I was gray romantic, and I can talk about that another time, but I also realized that like I didn't actually like this boy. I just have a stronger sense of platonic love than most people do, and I value platonic friendships more than most people do. Because of that, it's definitely easy to confuse my understanding of friendship and what other people think of me liking somebody. I just didn't like him like that, and as a result I ended up losing a friend in him and also in her, because I just couldn't trust her anymore to tell me what it was that I needed to know about understanding other people and understanding myself, because she obviously didn't know me and she obviously wasn't there for my benefit. It was just not good for me, so I just stopped being friends with her. Sorry, I'm getting texts. Anyway, and then fast forward to like 7th grade, I met one of my to-be later like high school friends. I started to understand a little bit more about girlhood and what it's like to have friends that are girls, because she was a very bubbly girl. I met her in robotics. We were the programmers of our team because the rest of our team basically did nothing and they were just in there to be in there. Wow, this highlighter looks really good. It's from this Rude Cosmetics Peanuts face palette. Sorry I haven't really been telling you guys the products that I've been using. I've been kind of in the zone of telling you guys this story. But anyway, we became really good friends after that because she kind of has more of a like do whatever I want type of personality. I don't know, I guess I like at the time I was gravitating towards a lot of people who were like that because I didn't know what I wanted and I wanted to be that way, but I couldn't figure out how to, and she essentially like became my friend. I thought that she would be a really good place for me to understand a little bit more about how people interact and get along with each other, and so I would kind of observe her and watch her and learn from her a little bit, and she wouldn't know because I felt like it would be weird as a 7th grader to ask another 7th grader, how do you socialize? So I was embarrassed and I didn't ask her that, and I just learned from afar, and she integrated herself into my little friend group and they started to like her more than they liked me. But I didn't mind that because I'm not gonna lie, they didn't even really care if I was there or not. I didn't know at the time because I didn't really know what a healthy friendship looked like or what it should look like, and I thought that it was normal, and so I got ignored basically that whole time by all my friends and all these people that I went to school with. Comes along freshman year of high school and I meet this girl, and I mentioned her in my book. I call her my little baby bird. In the book, I write about her very sweetly and fondly, and my memories of her still are that way. The beginning of the friendship was one built on understanding the fact that like she needed a friend and she felt like someone she thought she could trust and be friends with didn't actually care that she was there, and that's something that I've understood my whole entire life. So I wanted to be there for her, I wanted to care for her, and she sort of felt like, well, my baby bird. With time, we became like best friends. It was a really good friendship for me because she taught me a lot about being a girl, because my parents never truly taught me anything like that. My mom was always working, my parents were like never around. I had a nanny, and she was essentially like my mom, but she didn't really know a lot about social interaction either. And so this girl, my baby bird, she really truly taught me the understanding of girlhood, where we could go out and get drinks, we could go out the mall, we could go out and hang out, we could play with makeup, we could just talk about boys and girls. So I would talk to her about stuff, and I'm also someone who's super observant, so I knew a lot of things about other people, and she would ask me things about other people, things about people she liked, or etc., and I thought that like, you know, as her friend, and this is what I had been used to prior, I have to tell her and I have to be there for her and I have to do all these things for her because she's my friend. And she would actually, this is kind of hard for me to talk about because it requires me to be very vulnerable, but she would tell me every time that like I wasn't around her, or I didn't pay enough attention to her, or I was dedicating my time to somebody else because I saw somebody else really needed me more, that she would feel suicidal, and it would break my heart. because how can you care about somebody so much, and when they tell you that when you do something to help other people because you care about more people than just them, it makes them want to die. And when you spend the time away from them to heal yourself, because I am an introvert and I need the space, I need the time, she wants to kill herself. And it was really hard for me. At first, I was genuinely really upset, and I would drop everything to go take care of her, and it was very detrimental for my own mental health and my well-being. But I had to learn the hardest lesson I had ever had to learn about friendship, and that was that I cannot help them through everything, because there are certain things that I will only make worse. And I stopped being friends with my baby bird for her well-being and for mine and for the people around us, because I remember I went on this little trip with her and her family over Christmas, and it was super sweet of her to invite me, and I truly appreciated it. But one night we were having fun and talking, doing girl talk, and she asked me some questions about some of our friends, and one of my friends had a crush on her and liked her, and I told her that I wouldn't tell her anything because I didn't know if she could handle it, and I didn't want to give her information that would make her upset or cause her any pain. And she kept pushing and pushing, and again I had trouble saying no because I care about her and I didn't know any better, and I was never taught what I'm supposed to truly do as her friend, or what a healthy relationship is in terms of friendship, because I had never had a friend that's, you know, like that. I've never had a girlfriend who actually like cares about me. I've always had FOMO about like seeing girls on social media, or like seeing girls on movies or shows, or like even seeing just like my sister with her friends and stuff. I've had FOMO thinking that like, wow, it must be nice to have like a friend group like that, to have people that like at a drop of a hat they would hang out with you because you asked them to, and you can go out to coffee shops and take pictures and look cute and talk about girl talk or anything really, and be truly honest and learn about like the rules of friendship and socializing with other people. And she was the first person to truly teach me any of that. But the downside was that it was a very toxic relationship, and it was one where I was getting hurt and she was getting hurt by being friends with each other. It hurt me to my very soul to tell her that I couldn't be friends with her anymore. I ended up cracking, and I told her about this friend that we had who had a crush on her, and she broke down, she left the room, she went to her mom, and then the next morning she came to me and she told me that she tried to kill herself. And it was heartbreaking to know that she left the room because of me. She tried to do all of those things to herself because of me. And on the flight back home from the trip, I texted her. We were sitting right next to each other. I texted her because I couldn't muster up the words to tell her out loud that I couldn't be friends with her anymore. It was breaking me, and it was obviously breaking her, and we just weren't good for each other. And at that point I realized the rest of the time in high school for me, I will no longer be able to have a girlhood type of relationship, even though that's honestly something that I've always ever wanted. Anyway, I was still technically friends with all those other people too. They would exclude me from so many things. They didn't care about me. They didn't check up on me if I went missing or if I disappeared. But I did have one best friend in that group, and she was always there for me. She cared for me, and she was truly like my best friend, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. And I realized that at the end of the day, I don't need more than one person. I just need one person to be nice to me, to care about me, to value what I have to say, and not use it against me or tell me that like because of me I'm causing them pain, because all I do is I'm trying to care, and all I'm doing is I'm trying to do what they want me to do. But people don't always know what they need. They know what they want, but they don't know what they need. And I didn't know that, and it caused me a lot of heartbreak. But it was a lesson that I definitely needed to learn. So all my other friendships, they kind of faded out. So I was kind of just hoping to get out of there. I just didn't want to be in high school anymore. I didn't want to be in Texas anymore. I didn't want to be in that environment anymore because I realized that I didn't need them to survive in the world anymore, and any understanding of social cues that I needed, I had learned, and I had to learn it the hard way. I kept in mind that when I went to college, I would be a brand new person. I would start over, and I would create this new persona, ready to socialize, ready to make friends, and I did it. I did that. I made friends, and it turns out that the friendship that I needed the most, the friendship that I didn't realize that I needed and that I had been waiting my whole entire life for, was gonna meet me right there freshman year of college and be my roommate. I feel so blessed that I have my roommate, even though we can't really have that sort of girlhood type of friendship because, well, they're not that type of person, and also they don't identify as a girl. They identify as non-binary or trans-masc. Even though sometimes I still feel FOMO when I look at social media and look at all the girls, I reach out to those people. I suggest that maybe we could possibly hang out because I would love to be friends, because I will never give up on making more friends and meeting new people, because even though the start of my life I hated making friends and I struggled to make friends, everything that has happened was definitely well worth it, because socializing and meeting people and understanding people is a different sense of fuel that I didn't know I needed. And even though I'm an introvert who does need my space and time alone, I realized that there is so much more, and I'm an introvert who's really good at being an extrovert, who has learned through the years how to become one, and has become someone who's reliable, and I can be a good friend to other people, and that satisfaction is better than anything else in the world. I don't talk to my baby bird anymore. I don't talk to my best friend from high school. I don't talk to anybody from high school anymore, but truth be told, it was all worth it. All of those friendships of learning to be by myself, learning to observe other people, learning to be okay with the fact that sometimes other people are going to be chosen before you, and learning to know that, like, sometimes friendships that show you true girlhood feel like a movie or like a TV show. They're great, they're wonderful, but sometimes they don't compare to the friendships that feel like, the best way I can describe it is they feel like being two old grannies and grandpas together, sitting around a TV watching shows, or just talking or laughing or making jokes or being friends for life. And yes, there are going to be friendships that are like girlhood friendships that last for life, but I don't know, I feel like I haven't found that yet, and I'm still looking. And hopefully you guys, you never give up on trying to find the friendships and the relationships that are worth it, because I'm glad that I never gave up. And I'm glad that I found the people that I have, and that the friends that I do have now, the friends that I have made along the way, they taught me so many things. Without them, I would have never become the person I am. I would have never become understanding or social or even half as happy as I am now. Thank you to all the friendships that I have ever had, whether you're one that was hard for me, one that I had to learn hard lessons, or whether or not you're one that I'm gonna have for life, or you're one that I'll meet in the future. No matter what, I'm truly thankful, and all of you guys are my friends, and I can't wait to see you guys again in another video. And thank you for listening to me yap about friendship and my understanding of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was kind of a lengthy one, but I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say, or maybe you understood or related to something that I said. Until next time, I hope you guys will come back. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below, maybe talking about the friendships you've had or some struggles you've gone through. I would love to talk to you guys about it and become better friends.